everyone. Welcome back to Cincinnati Zoo Tales. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Mark. Thanks to everyone out there for tuning in to another episode. We're being joined by, I believe, our frequently had guest, right?
Our most frequent returning guest.
I couldn't think of the word. Yeah. I was brain stopped for a second. But
we were just talking about how we should include bloopers and let's just leave it.
We're just leaving your own. This is a free blooper at the start of the episode here. Your boy can't talk today, but
we have one of our favorite guests back.
Yes, our favorite. Forget the whole most visited, most returning guest. Our favorite guest. That's the easiest way to put it. Jenna Bowerman, who is joining us from Reptile House, a senior keeper over at the reptile department, here to talk about king cobras. Thanks for coming. However many times you've come on the podcast at this point, we lost track.
We think it's 3, but we already came up with 3 more ideas for her to come back.
No, so. I'll be most returning and favorite.
There we go.
I'll do it all. So, love it here.
Well, thanks for joining us, putting up with us. We are here to talk about king cobras today.
Yes.
We're really excited. There was recently, how long ago? When did he join us? We have a new king cobra.
Our new king cobra, Alex. He's our new king cobra. We actually got him last spring. So he's been kind of hanging out while we designed and got ready the new exhibit in the Reptile House. So we named him Alex. We like naming our snakes very relatable names. You know, we obviously know that there's a stigma around snakes, so it's kind of hard to be afraid of a king cobra named Alex.
I love that.
Yeah, he's really great. He's a very honestly well-tempered king cobra, if you can believe it. But yeah, we got him last spring, and we've been working on an exhibit in the Reptile House. The previous exhibit that held our past king cobra that has now passed away, it just didn't quite have the features that we wanted for a new, larger king cobra, and we wanted to add some extra safety features because obviously these guys are very dangerous. So our new exhibit has a whole shift. So king cobras are really intelligent. They're very visual animals as well, and they can be trained. So, we're working on training Alex, to shift into kind of this. You know, if guests come to the zoo, they'll see a little hole on the side of the habitat, and that's where Alex can go into a larger shift area, where we can then take him to vet procedures or just get him off habitat so that we can go in. So that was one of the new really cool features in this little bit larger exhibit.
I want to hear more about that and Alex and like what was needed to make it the best king cobra exhibit you could think of. But before that, will you tell us just some like general king cobra facts so that we can learn about them, what their needs, where they're found, what they eat, that sort of thing?
Yeah, they are fascinating animals. They are literally the king of snakes, why they're called king cobras. But fun fact, they're actually not true cobras. So this is the most common misconception with these guys. They do hood up, which gives them the perception of a cobra.
Is that what makes a true cobra? Is if they have a hood?
I think it comes down to genetics, but also true cobras, like your spitting cobras in what's called the Naya species, they can hood out really far. Whereas king cobras, it's just a little bit. And it's kind of like if you ever see hognose snakes can kind of flatten their ribs a little bit like that too. It's similar to that, but they can't flare out as much as true cobras can.
Interesting.
But they're called the king cobra because probably the perception that they can hood up like that. But they are also a very snake-heavy diet, so they pretty much can eat almost anything. Snakes, lizards, but they sometimes eat mammals. But they're known to eat other cobras. They're very cannibalistic. They can eat many other venomous snakes, and the venom doesn't seem to bother them.
Do you know the science behind that?
Yeah. I don't know. It's baffles me because there's also, we have our king snakes native to the U.S. that can also eat venomous snakes too.
Oh, but they're not venomous, right?
But they're not venomous, but they're resistant to, certain rattlesnake venoms.
So interesting because, you mentioned it, but like for clarification, snakes that have the name king in them often eat other snakes, right? So
yeah.
Like that's
absolutely.
I don't know, that's what me and Lincoln talk about.
It's like a common name feature. Yeah.
So if a snake has king in front of its name, then it probably eats other snakes.
Yeah, I can't think of another... Well, there are things such as king rat snakes. I don't know if they eat snakes. They might, but it seems like they like to put that name before it to just kind of say, maybe more powerful over other snakes due to that reason.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe I
Not
just
quite sure.
spread misinformation. But that's what I always learned. Or that's what I'd always thought I knew. But
Yeah.
so king cobras can eat other venomous snakes.
You know, the venomous snakes, they are the longest venomous snake in the world. Typically, their average length is 10 to 14 feet. That kind of depends on where they're from in the world. You know, their range is really large across Asia. You know, we had our previous snake, his name was Kinky. He was from a locality where the king cobras are actually a little bit smaller, so he was only 8 feet long. Whereas Alex, only 8 feet long. Whereas Alex is a little over 10 feet, and he could potentially grow a little bit more. So that's quite a lot of snake. But I did some research, and the longest snake on record is actually 18.7 feet, and that's in the Guinness Book of World Records. So. And that snake was at the London Zoo back in World War II.
That's nuts.
I can't even imagine, like, you know, because we do work our snakes, so I do use a hook and I can get Alex out of his exhibit. I can't even imagine working an 18-foot king cobra.
Right, how would you handle that
I don't
body?
even know. It's like
three times
my size.
Yeah.
Almost 4.
More, yeah.
So I don't know what I would do.
Oh my gosh. And you said all throughout Asia. What is like the habitat type that they prefer?
Yeah, they really like kind of dense forest. You'll see them in bamboo is very commonly associated with king cobras, bamboo thickets. The females love to lay, they build these really impressive, huge mound nests.
Oh yeah, are they one of the only snakes that build nests?
There not many snakes that I know build nests like that. I'm sure there's a group that do, but king cobras are one of the more prominent ones. And it's crazy. They'll take leaves and scoop them with their their coils and bring them in. And then they'll start to crawl, slither over the nest and pack it down.
That's adorable.
Yeah, and then they guard them. Like the females, they'll just guard these nests, and as the leaves kind of decompose, it kind of warms up the eggs
that's so
underneath
smart.
as well. So they typically do these in these really dense habitats where they feel like they can have a lot of cover. But, they also inhabit areas of agriculture. So there's a lot of crossover between king cobras and, people in that area. But oddly enough, there's not a ton of snake bites. So what I was looking up, it looks like there's maybe 5 bites a year. They're really very confident snakes, and the people there very much respect them. They're actually really revered in a lot of cultures. They're seen as very spiritual. They're seen as protective over the fields. They're just a source of power, and I think that they're the national snake of India. So they have a lot of respect for them, which I think goes a long way in respect for each other.
Yeah.
Because, these snakes, they'll come into the towns, they'll come into the villages, and the people know, obviously they respect their space and know not to, make them angry, obviously.
Which I think is so important because there are so many people that live here in the United States or in Cincinnati that I know that, you're not going to find a venomous snake likely, right? You could in Cincinnati, but not.
Very, very rare, unless it's like but even in Cincinnati, copperheads, you kind of have to still go down to Kentucky
a
or,
little further south.
timber
Outside
rattlesnakes.
the
There's
city,
other areas of Ohio, but Cincinnati, we really don't have venomous here.
And people are so worried about having them around their homes, but
Yeah.
they, one, can't do you any harm, and they'll probably help a little bit with the rodent population.
Yeah, they
so.
help a ton. They're helping with pest control, and, it's their land too. So
I think it's amazing that people are willing to coexist with cobras.
yeah, it's awesome. And, when you're dealing with such a large snake like that, it's kind of inspiring, and I'm sure we'll talk about more of this later about how we can translate that to what we do here. But yeah, they're incredible animals. And what we actually recently learned about king cobras is actually, as of last October, we've determined there's actually 4 species. They all were initially 1, but now due to genetics, we're able to determine there's 4 species of king cobra, and there's probably more, which is probably why they differ in size and color and all that kind of stuff.
That's interesting. I'm super fascinated at the fact that I had never known that they build mounds and build nests.
Yeah.
The fact that they do that without any arms or legs. That's
crazy.
How is this even possible?
It's insane. Yeah, I don't even know, because we see our tortoise, we have our brown mountain tortoises, they build mound nests, and it's really funny to watch them, because they'll just be kicking and scooping leaves behind them. So I imagine it would take so much work for something with no arms or legs to just be scooping in its coils. It's got to take so long,
And I think it's just awesome to share, because then people can kind of relate to them a little more and see them as caretakers.
For sure.
And,
Yeah, the females are so protective of the nests. I think that's where you could experience a bite from a king cobra, because typically they're not ambush predators. They're not lying in wait like a viper is to be stepped on typically. They're cruising around, but usually you won't see an aggressive king cobra as much unless, there's a female who's actively protecting her nest. So it's, I think, something that's very cool to think about, that even snakes, which are seen very primitive, they have these motherly instincts to protect their offspring, which is really fascinating.
Do you know how many eggs they typically lay?
It depends on the size of the king cobra, but what I was reading, it's like 15 to over 30,
Okay.
40
Wow.
eggs maybe. So a lot of eggs.
Are they endangered?
So they're actually listed as vulnerable, but I don't know how that might be subject to change based on now the distinction of these 4 different species. So depending on where they're located, if king cobras in this certain range are listed as more endangered than others. So it could kind of change all of that.
Does it seem like the 4 species, are they just split up basically like geographically because they're in different ranges, or is there like a visual guide as well? Like
It
they
does-
might have different markings or anything like that?
Based on the photos I've seen, I do think size plays a part.
Okay.
And it's kind of something we kind of did know, because they're Malayan king cobras and Thai king cobras are pretty much seen as always being very large.
Huh.
But so I think size, and the pictures I saw, there did seem to be some distinction in color, but I think it is mainly based on geographic location and
Okay.
how the land kind of separates them. Sometimes it's like a mountain or a river that kind of divides the range. So I'm wondering if there's
So like
something
splits
that.
up the breeding populations
Yeah.
basically. They can't continue to
Yeah, they don't
navigate.
cross over that.
Yeah.
As much.
What is a typical color? How would you describe it of a king? I think that's hard
It's
to
interesting,
answer. But...
yeah. They're like a brownish gray, but some of them will have just like kind of bands on them, and they change as they get older. So when they're younger, the bands are much more vibrant.
Okay.
Our previous king cobra was much more dark, whereas Alex is actually a really pretty tan, and he actually kind of has an orange throat, which is
okay.
cool. We also think he has kind of a slight genetic marker, almost like you may see some morph snakes. They're called like a pied snake, but he has like a white patch with a little bit of orange on his back.
Huh.
And we think that was like a birth thing. That could just be something special about his genes. We don't know. But yeah, he's a much lighter color, king cobra. So I believe that he is different than what Kinky was.
Oh man, I wonder if you can find out.
Yeah, it'd be cool. At this point, though, we don't know, because we didn't know.
Oh,
There
yeah.
probably is a lot of hybridization that went on, so the king cobras in AZA facilities are probably a bit mixed in that.
Yeah. So they're solitary for the most part?
Some people say that they'll mate for life,
Oh.
but yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that. But it's hard because males will come in, they'll breed females, and then cruise along. I think their goal still is to just spread their genetics. Males will come across each other, and they actually go into like wrestling wars. What's interesting is how venomous they are. They don't bite each other. Although they will, like I said before, eat each other, probably a bigger one to smaller one. But if you have 2 competing males, there's actually videos of them like raising up to each other. And remember, they can raise up like 4 feet high, which is insane. And they'll just be combating each other. And until one like is able to kind of press one down on the ground, and then that one's the winner. Somehow the other one knows, like, okay, you beat me, and that's that. And then they just go on their way.
Go on their separate ways.
Yeah,
They're like super peaceful.
it's kind of wild to think about.
Now, a lot of people probably think that snakes in general, but venomous snakes will bite immediately. But is it a lot of work for them to do that? Is it sometimes going to waste their chance to eat if they're biting unnecessarily? Do you like?
There are a lot of defensive bites that happen, because obviously snake bites are really prevalent even in the U.S., but not a good portion of those are dry bites, because snakes they are saving that venom for the kill. They don't get to eat a lot. It's very, very opportunistic. They're constantly hunting. It's a lot of energy to expend, and so when they bite, they want to make it worthwhile, pretty much. So that's pretty much what they're going to do. Babies are kind of dumb, so they're kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's why I think baby snake bites can be a little more dangerous. Just you may be more likely to get an actual venom bite,
Interesting.
which would be pretty rough. King cobra venom, it's a neurotoxin, and it has like localized tissue damage, but it's no joke. Like it is, it's a really devastating bite.
That's always interesting. Do you know how often like a wild king cobra would need to feed, or like how often you guys feed Alex, for instance, at Reptile House?
Yeah, it's interesting. Snakes are so fascinating depending on what their natural histories are. So because king cobras and elapids in general and elapids consist of other cobras, mambas, things like that, which that's what actually king cobras are more related to, are mambas rather than cobras.
I could see that resemblance
Yeah,
actually.
me
That makes
too.
sense. Yeah.
Because very similar in how they're how they look
Their
and
head
everything.
shape or something?
Yeah, head shape too, and their genetics are just much more similar
Okay.
than that of your true cobras, you know. And king cobras eat a little different than like rattlesnakes. So they have fixed fangs, so their teeth are actually not as long. So you know your typical rattlesnake bite, you can see those fangs coming out, and they can kind of have crazy strikes. Like you can get bit really easy. Whereas cobras, they're very directional in their feed response. And they latch on instead of tag. So when they get something, they latch onto it. So when we feed Alex, he's getting it and he's holding on until he knows that it's dead. But we feed him probably every week and a half. Whereas some of our snakes, like rhino vipers, gaboon vipers, once a month, they just sit there. But king cobras, they'll cruise around.
That makes sense.
They're digesting. Their metabolism's really high, so they need to eat a lot more.
Oh, yeah. I've never really thought about I mean, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I never really thought about some snakes move a lot more than
Yeah,
others.
spending a lot more energy. Rat snakes, they eat a ton. They're climbing all over the place. You know.
Huh.
You really only have to feed the viper. Sorry to derail the conversation.
No, you're
you
fine.
feed them once a month. That's all it takes.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you feed them, and it depends on the size of the meal too. You could be feeding a huge meal, like Nagini, or when we had our Burmese python, feed her a giant rabbit. She could go probably 2 or 3 months if we wanted to without feeding her. She's just digesting that giant rabbit.
That's something as a keeper, I don't understand how you guys decide. Can you tell us how you know when to feed them? Does it depend on when they go to the bathroom? Does it depend on what you can see literally? Because you can kind of see it when they're swallowing.
Moving down.
Oh yeah,
like-
you'll see that lump for a while.
Do you wait for that to go away? Like, how do you decide?
It's hard because sometimes with like king cobras, because they'll, you feed an animal a lot, it'll poop a lot. Gaboon vipers, when we had our bigger gaboon, Kudra, she would sometimes not poop for 6 months. But in that time, I'm still feeding her about once a month.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes snakes, they'll hold it until they just want to expel everything. Whereas other snakes, they'll kind of, 3 times a week they'll poop. But we also look at behavior as well. So when you have your snakes like king cobras or your active snakes as like rat snakes, you'll see them start to get a little bit more active, cruising around, almost like they're hunting.
Oh, okay.
You're more. It's harder to tell with vipers because they're very much ambush.
Yeah.
But you can kind of tell when you're doing something in their exhibit and they're kind of watching you, how they're moving. They're kind of ready for a food item.
Do you guys have a schedule laid out ahead of time, or do you just look for those behaviors?
We do have a loose schedule. Like, obviously, we're like, well, you don't want to wait 3 weeks to feed Alex. So we're like, we're going to, in this span of a week to a week and a half, we'll probably feed him. But if in that time he looks extra hungry, we'll probably feed him a little sooner. Something like that.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This might be a good time to transition to Alex. What do you guys feed him? Will you tell us before you answer what you guys feed him, will you just tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, he's 6 years old. I've never worked with other king cobras besides Alex and Kinky, and then Queenie was our female. So I've worked with 3. Luckily, as far as king cobras go, very chill king cobras. Some of my coworkers have worked with other ones that have been very much in your face, more aggressive.
Which is interesting because you've made it sound like they're pretty much mind their own business and like don't want to. So is it just like...
I think it depends on the individual.
Okay.
And I think it depends, it could go into... I honestly, I don't really know. Because they could just have more of a reaction response. So when my other coworker at a previous zoo would open the door, maybe the king cobra is expecting food right away and they're just ready to go. So you have to like use your hook and push them away. Whereas Alex is much more curious. So he'll be curious, but he's not hooded up. He's just kind of coming over. He's flicking his tongue. And it's more of like, it's very gentle, and it's almost like it's a mutual respect kind of thing. And that's a relationship I learned with Kinky. That's why he was really important to me, because we just had this mutual respect of, I know he's dangerous. He kind of gets the gist of, when I'm opening the door, he's probably going to come out. so that I can do stuff in his exhibit, and then I would always put food back in for him. So I would never let him associate me with food.
That's smart.
So that's what I'm doing with Alex as well, just to kind of reinforce the more calm demeanor. And he's really good about it. He's so curious. This exhibit, we tried to make sure we had a lot of vertical options for him, and he is just climbing all over the place. He's very investigative. We did our exam with him, and he was great. Like, it was the smoothest that you would hope a King Cobra veterinary exam would go.
So people at home are probably like, well,
How's
what do
this
you
happen?
mean? What do you do?
Okay.
You mentioned that he has an area he can shift into. So if you were going to clean his habitat, it's just like we bring the hippos into the barn and I lock the doors and then I clean the habitat and then switch it up. So you can do that with this very smart, maybe food motivated snake.
We're working on it. He's not fully shifted yet because he's never had to do quite this before.
But you'll have the opportunity.
We're giving him time.
But like until then, or with other snakes, how do you go about these veterinary exams?
Yeah, so venomous is always very interesting because obviously there's always the safety aspect of it. So we always, we have multiple keepers there ready to go, especially with this one because this was going to be newer. So pretty much because he wasn't fully shift trained yet, we were going to hook him off of the exhibit. So I have my stake hook, I have backup with my colleagues, and so we open up the door, he's coming over, kind of investigating, I use the hook, and then I, kind of gently have his tail, and then we put him into a can where we can then secure it with bungee cords. Vet staff drove their van, so that way we could have like double containment just in case. But this was before zoo hours, and we took him to the hospital, to where we have him in the exam room. Then at this point, obviously, we have to get hands-on with him. So we use snake tubes for our venomous snakes. So this is a really great option for us to be able to actually hold them, and everybody's safe. So it's these long, clear, I guess you call them.
Are there photos of this on social media?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be. And I think, and we took a lot of photos too with Alex's exam. We'll be posting those too, so people can kind of see what we're talking about.
Okay.
I think we posted some when we did one with Kinky.
Okay, I was gonna say I thought I've seen this before with you guys.
Shows you what we do. So yeah, it's just a big long clear tube, and so he's again a very curious snake, which makes tubing very easy because he kind of just goes into the tube himself, and then I kind of grab him and hold him. So now we have him, and the vet staff, Dr. Mike, was able to get radiographs on him, ultrasound on him. We would get blood drawn. And then just do his general physical.
There's no
exam.
anesthesia then with him.
No anesthesia.
Okay. Wow, that's impressive.
And he was great. Hissing a little bit just because no snake likes to be held for a long period of time, especially a venomous snake that's not used to that. Mm-hmm. But overall, he did an excellent job.
So you're holding him. He's a 10-foot snake. How heavy is he?
He's like because we did weigh him. He's about 2.6 kilograms. So that's about 5 pounds.
That's way lighter than I would have guessed.
Yeah, he's really not heavy. The heaviest thing about snakes, I think, is when you're hooking them, because your hook is about 3 or 4 feet away from your hand. So it just adds a lot of extra weight on that end of it. So that's kind of the hardest part, I think, when you're dealing with that.
And when you're talking about a hook, it's not... Essentially, the snake is almost in like a hammock sort of situation.
Yeah, very
like,
gentle.
The hook is just kind of holding underneath them, under their bodies. So
it's not like a...
It's
like
not
a
going
grapple
into
hook.
them. Or,
We're not piercing our snakes
Right.
with hooks.
Like, how fast is your heart beating when you have to do this?
It's crazy because my heart's beating a lot, and I feel like I recognize it once the snake is in the can, because you almost go into a when I work venomous, it's almost like I go into a different zone.
Okay.
Because you have to be just on alert, on guard, and ready to go. So I don't want to say a trance because we're all very aware of what's going on, but it's a very different demeanor than when we're working with pythons or rat snakes. Mm-hmm. So I feel like my heart is beating, but everything else is very chill because you have to be.
Do you get nervous like the night before? Are you?
Oh, I was thinking about this procedure the whole week.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All leading up to it, I was stressing out about it, but because you just want everyone to be safe.
Yes,
for sure.
It's our job is we love it so much. We care so much about these animals, but it is very hands-on with dangerous animals, and you have to be careful. So we want to make sure everyone, including the snake, is safe and everything's good.
I can't even imagine like the first time maybe you start off obviously with non-venomous snakes and stuff, but the first time you like have to grab
it's nerve-wracking.
venomous snake.
I remember the first time I worked Kinky, it's such a like an experience you never forget. And so I think that made this one easier because I've worked 2 other Cobras and I had a lot more confidence in myself, and I have a great team. So knowing that you have everything in place for success helps you do it. So
Yeah.
How often do you guys
fun.
do these veterinary exams?
Typically it's like once a year, once every other year.
Okay.
And we kind of like rotate, but because we have the collection we do and we split into different areas, we're able to see if something does need addressed. We're very good about finding, this may look a little off, and then the vet staff is really quick to respond. So, depending on what happens, Alex could be seen earlier if he's not eating right or something weird, showed up on his skin or something. So
I know Mark asked you to tell us about Alex, and then I kind of derailed it, but I want to derail it one more time. And thinking about them eating, and like, can you explain to us, because I truly don't understand how they could swallow a snake and how long that takes to get past their, like, they're just slowly using internal muscles to move something which could be half the length they are, maybe the same length.
yeah, and
through their body.
true. Mm-hmm.
Do they sit there with their mouths open and like?
It's kind of wild watching anyone who's curious. I know some people get a little squeamish with this stuff, but it honestly is fascinating watching snakes eat snakes because they are literally designed. King cobras, the way they eat is they literally walk their mouth like down the snake. So it's like I'm doing a hand motion that people can't see. I talk with my hands a lot. Apologies,
But it's like fang by fang.
Fang by
almost, right?
fang,
Yeah.
like moving their head back and forth,
Okay.
and it's crazy. It's very quick.
I was going to say, how long does this take?
It's really not that long. It's harder for them, I think, so there's videos of them eating monitor lizards. That's tough because there's shoulders to deal with, and like same with rodents, Whereas a snake, it's like a giant spaghetti noodle almost. You know what I mean? So it's almost
a
like
smaller tube going into a larger tube or
yeah.
something.
I think it's just they're
so
designed
uncomfortable
to do that. Yeah, it seems uncomfortable, but I think they are so good at it.
Is it going directly like into their stomach? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm guessing they
snake
don't have
anatomy
like a...
is so strange. Yeah, I mean, obviously they have an esophagus, right? So it goes down the esophagus and then it goes, into their stomach.
But like, so they can
They
get...
have a pretty long stomach because when you
That's
think
what I was
about,
wondering, if the stomach must be the biggest part. I don't know. I need to look it up. I
Probably.
should probably just look up a picture. But so it's when you say quick, like what do you mean?
I guess
5 minutes, an hour?
less than 5 minutes, I would say. Because, I give our king cobra, sometimes I'll give them herring. So it's kind of snake shaped. Don't have to deal with, something big like a rat shoulder or anything like that. So sometimes they get herring and it's so much quicker than a rat. Because it's like they get the head and then it's almost like it just goes down. Wow. So it really is like very quick.
I want you to record a video for me. I guess I'll look it up
I
on
can do
the
that.
internet.
Yeah, I can totally do that. It'd be fun.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay,
They're
sorry.
so cool. The king cobras are one of the coolest snakes out there. I mean, you just can't beat a king cobra.
And you sort of mentioned this, but the hood comes from their ribs.
Yeah.
Will you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, they're able to kind of stretch, like almost flatten or stretch out their ribs in a way that flares out their neck.
And
so
just make them look bigger
makes
and more
them look bigger.
intimidating?
Yeah, more intimidating. It's good for obviously courting females. Makes them look really impressive. And obviously intimidating for combating males. Also, if people come by and do come up to a king cobra, it's just something for them to, they're going to look tall and a little bit wider.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way for them to kind of scare anything off.
That's incredible. You mentioned you feed herring to Alex. Does he get anything else, or does he seem to have like favorite
Oh
foods
yeah,
that
can
you
you
guys
tell
give him?
snakes have favorites?
Yeah, you can. Some are very picky. So we try to give as much variety as we can, but our main staples are rodents and chicks, like little baby chicks, that are frozen thawed. So everything we feed is frozen thawed, no live. And then we can give herring to certain things that it makes sense. Obviously, I don't feed herring to like our pythons, for example. It's just not as a natural thing. We have small quail that we can give some of our snakes, and that's about it of what we typically offer. Our bigger things can get rabbits and
Guinea pigs?
actually we don't use guinea pigs for whatever reason. I don't know why. Maybe we should. Some of our snakes would love guinea pigs because I know some of your lions get guinea pigs, right?
Yeah, only
Yeah.
John will eat them. Amani's like,
Really?
no, thank you.
John loves them.
Yeah.
No, John, it's one of his favorites. Yeah,
It's always
he adores
interesting,
it.
like what certain animals like, Yeah, because we have some snakes that will only want to eat rodents, and chicks are typically very liked among snakes. They're just very, I don't know why. They're very, I don't know, certain, like, ball pythons can be really picky. Obviously we don't have any here, but ball pythons can be really picky about chicks, but all of our snakes typically love the chicks too.
So, Alex, do you have anything else about Alex that you want to tell us?
I'm trying to think, because, you know, he was living in another building in the zoo where one of my coworkers was working with him, so I've only been working with him directly for about a month and a half now. Yeah, about a month and a half. So I'm still kind of learning him, but yeah, he's just, I think I'm just really thankful that he's a much easier king cobra to work with. I was really worried he was going to be really wild. I haven't had the chance to work with a super reactive one, so it's nice to see him active. You can tell he really likes the space. He has like this big tree stump in his habitat, and there's like, Volunteer Enrichment actually did a great job. They created this like crevice in the stump, so he hangs out in the stump that people can see him.
Cute.
And then he goes on top of the stump to get some basking and stuff. So he is cruising around. I would just say he's a really curious king cobra and very, very easy to work with.
You mentioned you guys made sure there was like vertical space for him. Is that typical? Do king cobras like to be up higher?
They do. They
Okay.
like to climb. I think we didn't put a ton of vertical stuff in with Kinky near the end just because he was an older snake. He had some arthritis.
Oh, have you mentioned what their lifespan typically is?
I don't think so. Typically, it's like 20-ish years.
Okay.
Actually wrote down the oldest one currently in AZA zoos. It's a 26-year-old
Wow,
at Denver.
26.
So, and that's a very, very old cobra. Kinky was 20 when he passed away. So that seems to be the average. And so, you know, when you have a geriatric animal, obviously you have to make adaptations to their habitat. Mm-hmm. So luckily, with Alex being so young and energetic and has a lot of muscle, we wanted to make sure, because cobras will climb, that he had access to, pretty much you want to use as much of the habitat space as you can. So we wanted to give him not only surface area on the bottom, but areas to climb and hang out up top, because they will do that.
When you start shift training him, will that be like you use his diet and you just put it in the other area and you open the door and wait for him to come in?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of trial and error. I think I was getting a little ahead of myself because I started with, there's this, you know, big shift area and then one of his little hides that had his scent on it from where he was living before. So what I was doing is I was putting one rodent plain sight where he could get it. And then I hid the others in the hide because I wanted him to kind of go in and curl up. But he was very suspicious. So he came in, his hood was flat. He's like, this is weird. I don't know if I like it.
Am I being tricked right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was so suspicious of me. And so he did not want to eat them. So what I started doing is I just left them in plain sight. I left the shift open. And he came in and out as he wanted. So I just want him to know it's a safe space.
Yeah.
So it'll be some time, but we're not in any hurry. And I think part of that is luckily because we know we can hook him out. Because we want to make sure we maintain that skill as well. It's important for us to be sharp and know that we can get him out if we absolutely need to.
Yeah.
Because snakes, you know, just like other animals, they have a choice. And he could choose not to shift ever if he wanted to.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's really important. Do cobras like water? Like,
Yeah.
does he like to spend time in the water?
They will get into the water, and you can see cobras swimming and stuff. You know, I do have a misting system on there, and so misting kind of encourages them to kind of get up and active and look for food. So the misting kind of it also, you know, stirs up scents and stuff like that. So they do like water, and they'll kind of sit in water, like puddles and things like that.
In the little pools and stuff
yeah,
like
little
that.
pools.
Okay.
They will like soak in pools and things like that. Yeah.
He sounds super awesome.
He's
know.
amazing. Everyone should love Alex and go see Alex because he is one of the most beautiful king cobras. I'm telling you, his throat is orange. He has really beautiful brown eyes, and they're very visual. So if you go into the reptile house, you know, if he will kind of look at guests too. He's very aware of what's going on. They're very, very curious animals. They're so smart.
You mentioned that you had a relationship with Kinky. Do you
Yeah.
think it's visual too, or is it mostly smell? Like, do you think Alex will be able to recognize his keepers, or?
That's a good question. I don't know about recognition because that would be a really more intense, I think, cognition there. I think smell is definitely important to them. I think that's their most used sense. But obviously the vision is very different than other snakes. They're much more vision driven than pythons and vipers and things like that. That's a really good question. I would love to know if they're able to kind of put two and two together. But I do wonder if comfortable scents are what kind of trigger them to be a little bit more laid back. You know,
that would make sense to me.
Yeah, but I think he does also read. Snakes do read body language, so I think if he senses my body language is very calm and collected, then he has no reason to be really jerky with his movements.
Yeah. Awesome.
That makes sense. I know.
Is there anything else, like, before we get into trivia, that you want to tell us about king cobras that we missed?
That is a really good question. I think I covered almost everything that I could immediately think of. I just love them. Yeah,
awesome. They're awesome.
I hope we always have them here.
Yeah. I still haven't gotten over there to see Alex, so I need to make it over there.
You have to.
I know. I have to make it over there and check him
I
out.
saw he was hidden, but I saw like an inch of him.
He loves to like. It's super cute. He'll like go up on the top of the stump and then just like rest his head over like a little puppy. Oh, he's amazing.
Because it's only been like a month or so that he's been at Reptile House. Okay.
Yeah, brand new. Yeah.
So I gotta make it over there. It's our next field trip, Jenna.
Yeah, you come see the tortices. Come see Alex.
Yes.
You know.
Oh, I'm always down to
We
visit the
haven't done a
tortoises.
tortoise visit
Always down to visit
Not
the
as a
tortoises.
team.
Team bonding.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I do have trivia for you.
Perfect. Let's
if
do
you're
it.
up for it. Okay. Just a couple questions here today. So something that you mentioned earlier that I didn't know until I was doing some research about this is that king cobras are not true cobras, which fascinated me because like they're named cobras. This doesn't even make sense, but
doesn't make sense.
Whatever.
And they're probably the most well known in
quote unquote cobra.
Yeah, especially like pop culture and stuff too.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's such a weird misinformation.
Yeah.
So the true cobras are in this genus
Naya.
Naya. Okay,
Naya.
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Gotcha. How many species of true cobras are there in this genus?
Do you know the answer?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I can
man,
guess.
I'm trying to think.
There's a couple acceptable responses because similar to how you mentioned with the cobras, you know, they're doing the king cobras, sorry, the way that they're doing genetic testing with this genus, turns out there are more species than they originally thought. So for decades it was one accepted number, and now it's another number. But
Okay, I'm gonna guess. Oh gosh.
Wait, let me guess first.
Oh,
So
you guess
don't-
first. Okay, yeah.
That's not a rule. I'm just so you'll have a more educated guess. I want to see how wrong I am. Okay, I'm going to guess 23.
23, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna guess 11.
11. Jenna, you're almost on the money with 23.
Oh my god, I have no idea.
So
Really?
it used to be 22 accepted species, but now that they're doing the genetic testing, some of these species have been split up into multiple species, and now there's 38 accepted
wow.
I
species
was way off.
with the new genetic testing.
But I couldn't name more than 2, so that makes me feel better. I was just guessing, but I'm usually way off. So
No, that was very good.
No,
that's shocking to me.
That's fascinating, though. I feel like that's pretty common, though, in the
Yeah.
animal community. The more the genetic testing they're doing, the more
Oh, gosh.
species that we're finding out there are.
Yeah.
There's way more than we accepted, 10, 20 years ago.
There's
even.
so much we don't know.
Yeah. We're still learning more.
Yeah.
Got a lot to learn. So one of these cobras in the genus is the spitting cobra.
Yeah.
What is the distance that a spitting cobra can accurately spit its venom?
you know the answer.
I think, but now I'm getting it in my head.
I should know this because Lincoln taught it to me. I want to say
Oh,
8.
shout out to Lincoln.
6
I
or
need to
8
ask Lincoln.
feet. I know. We gotta. He would love to talk to you about Alex.
I don't know why 4 feet is coming to mind.
6 to 8 feet is
Dang
almost
it.
spot on. It's about.
Jenna, you're killing
it's
it.
About
Like my
8 feet
4-year-old
is
and
what's
wild
accepted.
kratts.
Wow.
Wild Kratts. Shout out Wild Kratts. Let's go.
Wild Kratts is
And
amazing.
the crazy, scary documentaries he wants to watch.
Wild Kratts. And then this is one that was actually mentioned in the podcast. So Jenna,
Let's see if
we'll see how accurate you are. What is the longest king cobra on record?
Oh, well, Jenna just taught me this.
Yes.
18.6 or 7 feet.
Spot on.
Yay!
Spot on.
Well done.
And I think you mentioned it was from 1937.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. It's almost hard to believe that they haven't found a larger king cobra in that time, but maybe
know.
that's telling that
Could it be like like
maybe
habitat
that
changes
maybe that's
and
the
stuff?
habitat
There's-
changes and
Yeah,
they're
it's
smaller or
fragmentation, that kind of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the long ones you typically see are like 14 foot, and they consider those like really huge.
That's still massive though. Like,
Very, very massive.
14-foot snake is
Yeah.
nuts.
14-foot dangerous snake.
Yeah.
I mean, how long do they continue growing? Like, at what age did they stop growing?
I mean, Alex is 6. I think he could probably grow another couple years, but
This is probably misinformation, but can't reptiles, maybe it's certain ones, maybe this is total lie, like the more you feed them or the bigger their habitat, the bigger they'll get? Is
yeah,
that a
to a
thing?
certain point, the more you feed them, but at some point they just don't grow. Maybe minorly.
I was thinking like maybe there used to be more food sources or something, so back in the
Oh.
day they could get bigger, but I don't know.
Yeah, it could have just been like a genetic, like a really
Special
solid,
genetics,
special
yeah.
genetic,
Yeah.
like huge snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, and a lot of snakes too. Like maybe they got a big kickstart in the beginning. Because if you feed a young snake, and you feed and feed and feed, they grow very quickly and they grow a lot. So maybe that big start would then cause it to grow more in the the later stages of its life, where it's starting to slow down a bit. You could maybe see that, but
That makes sense. Still, an 18.5-foot snake is.
That's a giraffe.
King cobra
That's
is
taller than a
nuts.
giraffe. Like
Yeah.
if you put it on its
I didn't think about that. That's wild.
That's insane.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
We've got Fenn is what, 15
Like
and a half, 16 feet
yeah,
tall or
maybe.
so.
Taller
yeah.
than Finn.
So taller than Fantasy. Yeah. That's
Wow.
giant. It's giant.
Wow. Yeah.
Or longer than he is tall. Yes.
Right,
Longer than he is. All right, last question I've got for you. What famous, or I should say infamous, Disney villain turns into a cobra
I know.
in the
You
climactic
you
event
got a kid.
of this movie?
Which one answers? You go for you answer first.
No, we can do it at the same time.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Jafar.
Jafar. Yeah. Jafar. And as a kid, I always thought it was really cool. But now that I look back on it, I'm like, maybe this is part of the reason that snakes and cobras have a bad rap. They're
Oh,
always being
yeah.
the villain.
They're
Yeah,
always the
being
villain.
And
villain.
Ka in Jungle Book.
Yeah, in Jungle Book. Yeah,
I'm trying to think of a nice snake
yeah.
character. Is there one?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. I don't know.
I can't think
Don't
of
get me wrong, I love Aladdin, but like,
I know.
we could have
it's
been something else
and
than a
He was a
cobra.
really scary cobra,
He
too.
was,
He was
yeah.
real scary.
Very large.
Very, very,
Very
way
tall.
too- way too
He would have set the record. He would have set the record.
It was at least 80 feet long.
Oh man, Jenna, do we have anything else? Any more questions?
Well, unless Jenna has more facts that she wants to share before we go, I just have my final question. What can I do?
Perfect. Yeah. So I think that this with king cobras is going to be very similar to the messaging that I had about snakes in general. When you're talking about where these guys inhabit in the wild, areas of India and China, you have these. The people that they live next to, they coexist with these animals, and it's we talked about mutual respect earlier. They kind of coexist peacefully. These king cobras are coming into the towns. They're minding their own business. The villagers, the townspeople, they know that they're there, and they just kind of live with them. So it's for me. It's if people can coexist peacefully with the longest venomous snake in the world. Surely we can coexist with our native snakes here. Regardless if you have a rattlesnake, you have a copperhead, or a black rat snake, harmless black rat snake. I think it's so important to recognize the importance of each species and the role they play in our ecosystem. Instead of, initially your gut reaction is killing the snake to get it away from you, maybe think twice about what your other options are. I think we have it really easy here. We don't have cobras. We don't have anything super dangerous here, especially in Cincinnati. So I think we could especially do a better job in protecting our native snakes and native wildlife.
Almost something that you could do is do nothing. Like
Just do
literally
nothing.
do
Just
nothing.
let them live. Live and
Yes.
let live. Yeah.
It's probably the easiest way that you can help with conservation
Yeah,
is
for
do
sure.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I love that.
Live and let live. I know you, like you mentioned, I think touched on this a little bit the last time you came on and talked about snakes, but like this is a lesson so important. I think it's good to hear it twice. Like, it never hurts to hear
It
this
is.
one again. Yeah.
These king cobras, so many people they see king cobra and they think this is the scariest thing, but they're living beings. They have, like we talked about, they're maternal. They have their own agendas to live, survive, and they have such a really unique, cool relationship with people there. I think we could learn a little something from that.
Definitely. I love to hear that. Well, thank you so much for joining us, teaching us all about cobras, teaching us about Alex. I loved hearing about him.
I love Alex.
Yeah.
You know what I just realized is it's almost spooky season again. Like, we're
Get number 4,
I was
baby.
just thinking about how many. We already have 3 more ideas to have Jenna on, but I was like, oh my gosh, we have to start recording our spooky
We do,
episodes.
just about, yeah.
So have that. Try and think of something not, that we could have.
do something different than snakes.
Yeah.
Maybe, but yeah, we could do stuff.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you have a fantastic day, and thank you, Jenna.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Jenna. You're the best.
Great to be
Thanks
here.
again.